Hola, hola, hola. Hola, hermosas. Welcome back to another episode of Mujer de Exito Unbounded. Woman of Success Without Limits is the translation. I am Marti Angel, your host for this incredible journey and for this incredible episode. So I'm your host, Marti Angel. Today we are going to unpack a story that is behind my Mujer mugs. Maybe some of you don't know, but I am a mug lover. I've been a mug lover forever. I have too many mugs, right? Can you have too many mugs? So, anyway, I have too many mugs and too many shoes. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Mujer de Exito Unbounded. And today I talk about the story behind my Mujer mugs and a love letter to las Madres for Dia de las Madres, Mother's Day, and for for this coming Sunday, this coming Mother's Day 2026, we have a combination. El 10 de Mayo, the 10th of May, is Mexican Mother's Day, celebrated in Mexico. And at the same time, sometimes it falls on that same second Sunday where ours here in the United States actually falls. So this coming Sunday happens to be the 10th. So all the way up and down the coast here on the West Coast, we will be celebrating, whether you celebrate in Spanish or whether you celebrate in English, we are celebrating Dia de las Madres. So in honor of that, I'm going to tell you the story behind my Mujer mugs and a love letter for you, Las Madres. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you're watching me on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening to me wherever you listen to your favorite shows, make sure to download the episode, listen to it, and then you can toss it if you want or share it out, even better. All right, let's get to it. Mujeres hermosas, this is going to be a conversation that you don't want to miss, truly. If you're watching me, like I said, on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, excuse me if I make funny faces at certain times, but make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so that you never miss an episode. All right, mujeres, let's go. Are there any mujerpreneurs out there, any fellow mujerpreneurs who could use a little elevation today? If so, let's dive in. Hermosas, today's episode is very personal. Hoy voy a hablar de mi mamá. I'm going to speak a little bit about my mom, and hopefully I won't get teary-eyed. I lost her, it just seems like I lost her yesterday because she's so close to my heart. But she passed towards the tail end of COVID. So I want to tell you about a mug. Not a fancy mug, not a Pinterest mug, but un jarrito feo, viejito, just a regular little mug, white, nothing fancy on it, chipped at the handle with that cafecito tint inside that only comes from years and years of a café con leche and 2 cucharadas de azúcar. Gracias a Dios. Gracias a Dios. Yes. Thank you. I'm very spiritual. You guys, I write on Substack and there I'm known as the Sixth Sense Mujer. To you, I am your coach, your small business coach. I am your podcaster. I'm mentora de libros. So I am whatever you want me to be. But anyway, let's talk about that white mug. That little mug, as a little girl, I remember it so well. I noticed something about it that I didn't have words for at the time, but I want to give you those words today. You see, when my mom would hold the cup, her cup was always the last one filled. I began to notice that. She would pour my dad's cup first. She would pour the cup for my brother. And then she would pour it for me and any of my tias or neighbors or whoever came for breakfast on the weekends. She would pour their cups first. And by the time my madrecita, got to her own taza, la cafetera, the coffee pot, ya estaba casi vacía. It was almost empty. And I would look at that almost empty, and she was okay with that. She would just pour, if it was half a cup, she would just pour the rest of it. And she would just smile all the time, and she would I remember her holding the mug with both hands, kind of like this, right? And the morning was already half gone, but she was, up and about serving everybody just like moms do. So, mujeres hermosas chulas, let me ask you this. Did you grow up with a Latina mama? If you grew up with a Latina mama, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Tú lo viviste. Lo viviste en una etapa cuando era muy importante para ti. You lived it when it was a time in your life that was very important. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. You watched your mother, you watched her translate at the doctor's office while still figuring out the words herself. I know I did. But my mom was, she came here when she was I believe 10 years old. And then they came here, and then she went to school here, and she became a U.S. citizen, and she went to, a local high school. And so she was very, very fluent in her English, very, very fluent. And I watched her unpack the lunches that she didn't eat. I watched her wear the same zapatos for many years so that I could have new ones. Have you been there? Have you been there? Have you watched your madrecita use the same zapatos for many years so that she could buy you new ones when you started school? If you watched her, mujeres hermosas chulas, raise your hand. If you watched your madrecita, I remember I would ask her, Mommy, tú, that meant, and you, what about you, right? And she would say, oh, estoy bien, mija. When I knew that she was absolutely not bien. Yes. And every single morning, that same plain chipped mug would come out of of either the dishwasher or out of the pantry where she kept them all. And she would just bring it and put it on the table. And I remember she would rub it, and then she would pour her coffee. Oh my goodness, those were beautiful memories. Y eso, hermosas, me partió el alma, because the woman holding that mug was not a plain woman. My mom was not a plain woman. People would say I had a very colorful mom, and people would say she was just so beautiful to me. My mom had, she was Spanish and German. She had a lot of Spanish and German. So my mom was blonde and blue-eyed. And yeah, you're looking at me thinking, what happened to you, kid? Yeah, I don't know. It just, those blue eyes just I would have loved. But anyway, for those of you that are saying, oh, she's not even finishing the sentences, those were on purpose. All right. Let me talk about la mujer. The woman holding the mug was not a plain woman. She was a madre. She was única. She was jefa. She was exitosa. And she was requete buena. And those are the exact words that are on one of my mugs. So let me show you this. This mug right here, this is a different mug that I created, but it does say madre. But notice that on the other mug, that if you're interested, I will leave the link in the description below. And if you find it on the show notes, you can check it out. So anyway, M for Madre. And then it was so, Madre was so important. She is, única, exitosa, requete buena. And she was amor sin condiciones, love without conditions. She gave without, expecting anything from me. She gave me a lot, and she gave my brother a lot too. Not just a lot in terms of material things, but lots of things in terms of, advice and things like that, life experiences. And nothing in her hands ever told her that she couldn't do something. Yes, she actually was afraid. She said that she was very afraid, coming from Mexico over to the U.S. She was very afraid when she came. She was young, so she didn't know what was happening. But that's the moment when I, in thinking about that and in watching my mom, those were the moments that I actually realized how much I loved her, how much I loved her. So it's not a secret. It's not coincidence that I decided that, I love mugs. Maybe I love mugs because it reminds me of that warmth that she gave when she was holding her mug. And that's why I began to create mugs. And I started asking myself the question I couldn't put down. What if the cup said something back to her? I watched her. She would hold that mug. But back in the day, mugs didn't have sayings and things like that, right? So I began to ask myself, what if every morning, every madrecita before the world demanded another piece of her, that she could wrap her hands around something that whispered her worth? Algo que le dijera lo que el mundo se le había olvidado decir. Something that would tell her what the world around her had forgotten to tell her. Voila, that was the birth of the Madre mugs. So I made the Madre mug. The first one I made, like I said, was, Madre única, jefa, exitosa, requete buena. 5 words for the woman who is all of those things at once and rarely gets called any of them. So I made that Mujer mug. I also made it in English. Mujer, magnificent, unstoppable, joyful, empowered, and radiant. Do you know an unstoppable, joyful, empowered, radiant mom? That might even be you. Because that's who you are, hermosa. If you are a mom, if you have a plant, if you have dogs, cats, birds, whatever it is, and I say plants because you have to mother your plants. That's who you are. Every one of you is a madrecita because that is who you are, hermosa. Antes de being, anyone's mamás, durante, being everyone's mamás, right? Before you were, in other words, what I'm trying to say is you are a mom, right? You are a mom. If you have a mom, if you have a plant, you're a mom. And it's so important that we say blessings for our mothers, and because they're always saying blessings for us. But let me just share with you, I also made something for mothers like me that are actually, a MujerPreneur, as I call them. And this one is the Latina boss lady mug for the version of my mama who didn't get to be a jefa in her time, but absolutely was a jefa of her household, her family, and her whole world. This one is honoring my mom. She was a Latina boss lady, right? Although you looked at her and would swear that she was not Latina. But she was the jefa of our household, and we loved her. She was the jefa of our family, and she was the jefa of our whole world. So, mujeres hermosas, chulas, for this Mother's Day, this coming Dia de las Madres, especialmente because this Mother's Day, this coming Sunday, we actually celebrate la mamá, the mother. So it's important. I made this one mug. I made the one that I cried over the day the sample arrived. The Madre mug has 3 lines, and this one I brought. So the Madre mug has 3 lines right here. You can see it, the Madre mug. And basically what it says, amor sin condiciones, da sin esperar, puro corazón. And basically, it just means that love without conditions, she gives without expecting, and she is pure heart. So those 3 lines are very, very meaningful if you grew up with a Latina mama. Una madrecita, mama, mommy, whatever you called her. You don't even need translation for that. But if you grow up with a Latina mom, you know what I'm talking about. You know, we always make fun of the silly stuff, like, you know, when my mom used to throw her shoes at me, la chancla, right? And my grandmother was really good at it. I swear, there must have had training or something, because she could throw her chancla and knock over my brother when he was running away from her. Those were the days, right? Anyway, if you had a Latina mom and, you know, it was so important to honor her. I love my mom so much that I just used to admire her, the way she looked, the way she spoke, her hands. She was very crafty. She was a teacher. She was a floral designer. She was a mujerpreneur herself. And so maybe, Hermosa, that one is yours too. So I would love for you to drop in the comments below, what are the beautiful memories you have with your mom? What are the beautiful memories that you would love to share that you had with your mom? So, you know, this Mother's Day message is for you, la mujer hermosa chula. Las madres listening today. If you are a madre and you're listening today, gracias por estar aquí. So, to my mama, who is with the Lord up in heaven. Madrecita, te veo. Gracias por todas las veces que tu taza fue la última de llenar. You see, I have decided, you know, I'm in the sunset of my life. In fact, in 2 days is my birthday. And when I look at how much time I have left, well, we really don't know. But I look at, and so many people, I know I'm a senior. Yes, I'm over the age of 55. But I'm spending the rest of my life, I've decided to spend the rest of my life pouring back into the Latina community, pouring back into my familia, pouring back into you, my listeners. So for you, if you are a madrecita or you have a beautiful madrecita, which I know that every one of you has a beautiful madrecita, to the mama listening from the carpool lane with cold coffee and a tight chest, eres mucho. You are not just a mother. You are not just tired. You are a madre, única, jefa, exitosa, requete buena, and you have permission este domingo, this Sunday, and every Sunday for the rest of your life, y cada domingo después de este domingo, to pour your own cup first. Sírvete a ti tu tacita de café primero antes de servirles a todos. And you, to you, hermosas, chulas, to the daughter wondering what to do this weekend, Llámala, abrázala, call her, hug her, dile su nombre en voz alta, say her name in a loud voice, madre, chula, and give her something that lives on and on and on. It can live in her kitchen counter every morning from now on. If you want to see these mugs on her kitchen counter, then what I ask you to do is take a look at the description below, because I'll drop the link there. But every morning from now on, whisper these words. Whisper these words. I am worthy. I am worthy exactly as I am. Let me repeat that mantra. I am worthy exactly as I am. And that's so important. Mujeres hermosas, chulas, las madres, the mothers, you deserve more than just flowers that will wilt in a week. You deserve something that will last a lifetime. You deserve something that will remind you every time you pick up your tea or your coffee that these letters are, who you are. These letters, M-A-D-R-E, madre, means you are a superwoman. It means you have superpowers. It means you have undying love. And it means you have compassion. Acuérdense, su madrecita mereces las letras adoradas, merecen esta declaración. Madre, amor sin condiciones, da sin esperar, puro corazón. These are your moms. These are your mothers. Words that describe who she is, describe that she's the most beautiful, deserving human being on the face of the earth. I believe your mom deserves a mug that finally says back to her what she has been pouring into your world all along. That is why my Mujer mugs exist, because I wanted to bring to the world something that reminded me of my mom, something that reminded me of her hands, because I loved her hands. She was a floral designer and she was so handy with her hands, something that, past my generation, but it went over my head. I didn't really get that. I'm a creator in other ways. But my mom was a creator with her hands. So, hermosas chulas, para ti, la mamá, para la tuya, es sumamente importante que te levantes, que le des un agradecimiento, un fuerte abrazo que dice, madre, gracias por todo lo que eres, por todo lo que hiciste y por todo lo que mereces. Mereces. That's such a kind of funny word. Anyway, hermosas chulas, I want you to really get out there on Sunday, be kind, and not just one day. Can we just make it normal? Let's normalize the fact that we love our mothers, right? So I invite you to pass this episode forward. I invite you to, to share it out for somebody that needs to hear that they are the beautiful woman that they have thought that they could not be, because we always think we're less than what we are. But I want you to say something to your mom. I want you to say on Sunday, gracias, madre. Gracias por todo lo que hiciste por nosotros, por todo el amor que nos diste, por todos los abrazos, con tanto amor que nos abrazaste. Gracias porque me limpiaste las lágrimas cuando yo lloraba. Gracias porque me abrazaste cuando yo tenía dolor. Gracias por hablarme con palabras hermosas cuando yo ya no tenía fe. So your mom deserves your love, your encouragement. And so I ask you, please, this Mother's Day, make sure you give her a great big hug. Make sure you give her, if you don't have the money because of the economy or whatever it is, then just give her hugs and hugs and hugs. If normally you give her one hug, I challenge you to give her 10 hugs on that day. That will be a day that she will always remember. So remember that your mom is not walking this journey alone. She's walking this journey as a mother because you are here. So remember to interact with her. Remember to give her the love. And remember to lift her up, because when we lift one another up, we all rise. So, mujeres hermosas chulas, if you're still listening to me and watching me on the Coach Marti Angel YouTube channel, gracias por estar aquí. Make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss my once-a-week conversations with you, the Mujerpreneur. And let me just share, wait a minute, don't go anywhere. Let me just share that next week I have another podcaster, Latina friend of mine, who actually has a podcast called Dali Speaks. And her podcast is about, she's a champion for bullying, for, I believe that maybe she has some sort of experience. We'll find out with bullying. I don't know if her daughter or whatever, but that's what she speaks about. And she will be on the Mujer de Exito Unbounded show next week. So take a moment to download this episode, explore the links waiting for you in the show notes. And as always, mujeres hermosas, chulas, les dejo un fuerte abrazo. Y les digo a ustedes, a todas las madrecitas, que la pasen hermosa en compañía de todos sus seres queridos. What I said was, may you have the most memorable, magnificent day, and may you pass that day with, or, experience that day with those that you love, right? Don't do anything you don't want to do this weekend. You've got my permission. You can tell everybody, oh, hey, my coach, Marti Angel, well, she said I can do anything I want and ask for anything I want. All right. Mujeres hermosas chulas, thank you for being with me again. This is Marti Angel, your host of the Mujer de Exito Unbounded show, saying gracias. May you lead with heart and serve with purpose and have the most magical day. Have a great day, everybody. Namaste.